Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 2CTV. As we are waiting for the official numbers of the votes. As you can see, we got the live footage from the House of Commons. Rishi Sunak's government have managed to crush the rebellion from the Tory backbenchers and, of course, the opposition. We don't know where they stand at this point. It's been an absolutely pointless week, pointless day, and a pointless rebellion. Because the so-called Tory rebels and the backbenchers, some of them who literally resigned from government yesterday in order to rebel against the Prime Minister and the Rwanda bill, have decided to support the Prime Minister. So, we are waiting. There we go. Let's wait for the...
Ayes to the right, 320. The noes to the left, 276.
76. Wait. 320. 320.
The ayes to the right, 320.
20.
The noes to the left, 276. The ayes have it, look!
There we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the official result. A classic Parliament. So, let's talk about what we just witnessed. Essentially, the House of Commons decided to support a new Rwanda bill, which on paper, the original Rwanda bill, Priti Patel negotiating with Rwanda, everyone was like, oh, this is going to be exciting. This is how we're going to be using a deterrent. Then we found out some flaws in the original deal anyway, from the perspective of the British patriots and conservative side. We said, well, why do we have to take in migrants from Rwanda if we are giving them migrants? That was one issue. But there's a problem with the international law when it comes to the European judges, ECHR, and all that nonsense. But Rishi Sunak decided to change the deal, a new Rwanda deal, which made it even worse than the first one. So 320, let me just write it down, 320 yay versus 276, I believe, was it? Yeah, 276. There we go, we now have it on the screen. So for you guys, if you just joined, this is the official result from tonight's vote. The government has won. So some people on the conservative side were getting excited today, saying, oh, well, that's good then. The Rwanda bill is winning. That's good, right? No, it's not, because this is not... Firstly, it's not practical, because the European judges can continue to block it anyway. The flights are not going to happen anyway. That was the whole point of the Tory right-wingers decided to do a rebellion against the Prime Minister until the last minute, and they all decided to completely give in. The reason for that... Do you know why they decided to do this? Do you know why the 5 families, as they were called, all the different groups, all the different caucuses from the Tory party, the right-wingers, decided to give up, including, by the way, one of people's favourites, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who decided to surrender, was because they're scared for their jobs. The Prime Minister used the chief whip and other whips in Parliament to go to these MPs and tell them, if you vote against us, if you bring down the bill, I'm not only going to be removing the whip, so which means you're no longer a Conservative MP, but I'm also going to be calling a snap election, which means that you're going to lose your job. And for some reason, these people, instead of actually saying, you're literally intimidating us, you're literally threatening us, they say, no, well, we respect the Prime Minister. We are loyal to the Prime Minister. What happened to your principles? You were going to lose your seat in the upcoming election anyway. The Labour Party are going to wipe the floor off you. At this point, the Labour Party are going to be winning. So maybe be principled for once. Maybe be principled for once. But no, of course not. The funny thing was, that obviously yesterday, as I said, we had resignations from the government, right? We literally had Jane Stevenson, for example. We had Lee Anderson, a couple of others, who quit the government over the Rwanda bill. And then they decided right now to actually vote for the bill. 24 hours ago, they resigned because they didn't want to support the bill. So when the Downing Street decided to send the whips to them and saying, we're going to remove the whips and you're no longer a Tory MP and we're going to call the snap election, they all freaked out saying, oh yeah, we always loved our dear leader, Rishi Sunak. This is the absolute state of the British parliamentary democracy right now and our mainstream political parties. 320 votes versus 276 votes who rejected the bill. 44, majority of 44. The sad reality is that the opposition are not really providing any solution, any alternative solution either. So it's a lose-lose right now. So we have a tweet by Scott Benton. Let's see what we have. One of the Tory MPs who I don't know if he's one of those people whose whip has already been removed. I can't even keep up really with which one is actually a Tory MP these days or not. He's posted this right now on X. The amendments which would have strengthened the Rwanda bill haven't been accepted, and I fear that it won't work in its present form. My duty is to my country and my constituents, and so while I strongly support the principle behind the bill, I voted against it at the third reading. One MP who's principled, Scott Benton. Oh, by the way, he's not really a perfect MP. He's got other issues as well. But on this issue, he decided to actually vote against it. Again, he doesn't really have the Tory whip support anymore anyway, because he's going to trouble. But having said that, it doesn't really matter, because the rebels, the so-called rebels who were roaring and saying we are going to bring down this bill unless we get the support for our amendments, all of them, from Mark Francois to Jacob Rees-Mogg and all the right-wingers, they all decided to completely give up and surrender and back Rishi Sunak. What was the point of rebelling? What was the point of resigning from government? There's absolutely no point. But we are where we are. I'm just waiting to see more reaction, by the way, from MPs and others. Lee Anderson did not support the bill. That's actually, we just discovered. Lee Anderson abstained. Oh, the absolute state of the Tory parliamentary party. So while Lee Anderson decided not to support the bill, to stay with his principles, he was too scared to vote against it because he was going to have his whip removed as a Tory MP. So he decided to basically say, I'm just going to basically go wash my hair. And he decided to abstain. We're going to wait for the list of the MPs who voted against and abstained to find out exactly who we are dealing with. At least the DUP voted against it. Let's go to the live chat quickly while we wait for more statements and reaction. Jerry says the DUP are the only party in parliament with any claim to honour and principles. Yeah, on this issue, obviously. We have Lionheart saying, send him to Rwanda, the effing puff. I'm not. Yeah. Lord Jim Dandy says that Rwanda will pull out of the deal. Rishi will be let off the hook. Refund. Well, they did say today, obviously, the Rwandan government, that they are willing at this point. They're sick and tired of this charade in Parliament. They would be willing to cancel the deal and refund the money, the £400 million. But they did say we're going to wait to see if this bill works. So the bill has gone through now. It has been passed. The new Rwanda bill, which is not going to work. So if the first flight doesn't happen, Rwanda will cancel the deal and will refund the money. At least they're going to refund the money, so that's good to know. But there's also a lot of money has already been spent on accommodation, so we're not going to get that back because we've already built a lot of houses in Rwanda for the migrants. ML41 says, this has convinced me that I am right to vote for the Reform Party. I wouldn't blame a lot of conservatives who are just completely disillusioned, because there were a lot of more right-wing conservative-leaning people who are still staying at the Tory party because they were thinking, they had hope that somebody from the right of the party will have principles and will fight for them and will take over, considering that basically the whole of the political right in the Tory party, the right, decided to surrender to the government whips. They don't really have anybody anymore. They have no advocate. There's no champion in the Tory parliamentary party right now who could be leading a conservative rebellion against the establishment. They're all surrendered. So if any of them tomorrow come to you saying, I want to be the next leader of the Tory party and I want to make the Tory party great again, don't believe them, because tonight they surrendered. Tonight they voted, they supported Rishi Sunak. They're not conservative. They're just opportunists. But again, the fact that they're scared of losing their seat, you're going to lose your seat anyway. Literally in the upcoming election. So we have a reaction from the mayor of Londonstan, Sadai Khan. Let's see what this idiot is talking about. Where is Sadiq's tweet? There we go. Sadiq is saying, the Rwanda policy has always been cruel, inhumane and unworkable, pursued by a weak government fixated on party interests rather than the national interest. We need a general election now. Hashtag Rwanda. It's funny because parts of the tweet is actually correct, but not for the reasons that Sadiq Khan is actually saying. Because it's funny when the Labour side accuse the Tories of being tribal, and the Tory side blaming the Labour side of being tribal, doing party politics. You do realize you're both doing it to each other. It's so funny. And did they not see it, or they probably treat us as idiots? That's what they do in reality. Mike says that we have hope, but they crush it. What they don't realize is that the English have long memories, and millions of us will remember. You would say that though, but at times the electorate do have short-term memories. I mean, remember 2019 they said never again we're going to vote Labour, even if Jeremy Corbyn goes. Now they're going to give Keir Starmer the keys to Downing Street, the electorate. But I know the sentiment when it comes to the overall English. When things get tough, when the time comes, people will rise up. And they have repeatedly throughout history. Not like the French, but in a very British manner. Ian's reaction to Sadiq Khan's we need a general election now tweet is we need a mayoral election now. Yeah. I mean, at this point, if we're going to have snap elections left, right and centre, let's also have one for the mayoral election. Although it's coming up now. It's 4 months to go. Why can't we have Javier Milei? So for those of you who just joined us now, the vote has now been concluded, and Rishi Sunak has won 320 votes for the bill, 276 against. That's a 44, majority of 44. So the new Rwanda bill that Rishi Sunak has created has won. It's been passed the third reading. And the new Rwanda bill is worse than the original. And not only it's not practical, the left-wing lawyers and the European judges will block it. Second issue with that is that we once again have to take in migrants from Rwanda. And the Rwandan government is in charge of telling us how many people are going to take in. But the main point of tonight's live stream is us reacting to the fact that all the right-wingers in the Tory party who were rebelling, including those who resigned from government, apart from Lee Anderson, decided to vote in favour of the bill. They literally supported Rishi Sunak, including Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. Yeah, the People's Champion has decided to also be scared of his own seat and being accused of being disloyal by the Tory whips. The reason they did this, as I said, is because the whips came out and said if you don't vote with the Prime Minister, you are no longer Tory MP, and we're going to call a snap election. So they all got freaked out. So it's just complete idiocy. Absolute idiocy. Julie Newman says, I want Margaret Thatcher back. A woman with more balls than these men. I know. If only. I mean, we could just get Javier Milei to change his citizenship. Make him British. Make Javier Milei the Prime Minister of Britain. See how that goes. Anyway, Paul says 200 out in exchange for 200. Meanwhile, an additional 10,000 in annually. But that's the other point, by the way. The whole point of the Rwanda policy is not actually to sort out the migration stuff. It's a gimmick to be used as a deterrent to scare off the migrants and the people smugglers. But the fact that they've already told the world that even if the Rwanda plan works, we're only going to be taking a couple of hundred people. That is not a good deterrent, because people smugglers are still going to get more customers and clients. They're going to get migrants to pay them in France en masse, and they're going to bring everyone at the same time, thousands, because they know, they will tell their customers that, don't worry, only the first 200 who already gone to the UK, they might be sent to Rwanda. You are fine. You're not going to go to Rwanda. This is not a deterrent. It's not going to scare anybody off, and it's not really going to be sending everybody there. None of it makes sense. And the fact that unintentionally we are now on the side of the Labour Party, who are basically opposing it. All right, let's find out. We have 11 Tory rebels. 11. I'm going to show you a list of every single Tory MP who remained principal. So, as I said, the rest of the Tory rebellion and everybody else surrendered because they were scared of losing their seats, right? We have 11 Conservative MPs who decided to vote against the deal. Are you ready? Suella Braverman. Well done, Suella. Will Cash, Bill Cash, obviously, as we know, so Bill Cash. Miriam Cates, Simon Clarke, Sarah Dines, James Doddridge. So far, these are the ones who voted against. Mark Francois, Andrea Jenkins, Robert Jenrick, David Jones, and Danny Kruger. Well done. Every single one of these MPs are the final, the last people that we have from the Conservative backbenchers who remained principal and decided to put the country first before the party and before their own ambition and before their own jobs. They knew that by voting against the government, they could be losing the whip, and of course, the Downing Street could call a snap election. These guys didn't care. These are the ones with principle. And that's the sad reality. 11, only 11 MPs. If you exclude the DUP, because the DUP were always principled on this issue, they're never going to change their mind. If you ignore them for a second, we only basically have 11 MPs in Britain, because of course that's Northern Ireland, who have principles. So these guys, Suella Braverman, Bill Cash, Miriam Cates, Simon Clarke, Sarah Dines, James Doddridge, Mark Francois, Andrew Jenkins, Robert Jenrick, David Jones, and Danny Kruger. Lee Anderson didn't vote against the deal, but he also didn't support the deal. He abstained. Still weak, but not as bad as people like Jacob Rees-Mogg and other rebels who voted in favour of the deal. Lee Anderson decided to abstain. It's still weak and feeble, obviously. There's no but. It is. Toddy Terrence, thank you so much for your super chat saying, could we deport Sadiq Khan to Rwanda? I don't think they want him. Jeff Green says, so no, and Lee Anderson then. Yeah, no, Lee Anderson did not oppose the bill. He just abstained, essentially. Cruel Angel says, I think that's his love. I love Braverman. Yeah, Suella. Carl says, Suella Braverman for Prime Minister. Although Asif says, Braverman is the boogeyman. Reason says it's impossible to support the Conservatives at this point. Unless they're going to form a government with 11 MPs. Yeah, you can't. Only 11 Conservative MPs in the Tory Parliamentary Party tonight. This is the list, if you just joined us late, this is the list of every single Tory MP who actually voted against Rishi Sunak, who actually had the balls to not be scared of having the whip removed or being threatened by the whips when they said they're going to call a snap election. Wow. Traitors. Everybody else is traitors. It's also, again, everyone has their own opinions, right? There's a political debate about migration, about the Rwanda plan and all that. Some people like it, some people don't like it, blah, blah, blah. At this point, it's not really about that. I'm not saying that these guys are good because they're against the Rwanda bill. I'm saying that at least they decided to stick with the principle. That's the main point. They knew where they stood and they didn't change their mind. Especially those who actually came from government, including Suella and Robert Jenrick. They actually resigned from government. Unlike the other guys who yesterday they resigned from government and then they ended up voting with the government, apart from Lee. Obviously, Lee Anderson abstains, but what does it matter? Abstention, voting for, same thing. They didn't vote against it. All right, so we have, yes, the other resignations. So we had Lee Anderson resigning yesterday, Brendan Clark-Smith, another vice chairman, deputy chairman, resigned, and Jane Stevenson, right? Lee Anderson abstained. Brendan Clark-Smith and Jane Stevenson, both of them voted yes. So what was the point of resigning from government yesterday when you were going to support the government? When you were after being threatened by the whips? Rebecca says Lee Anderson is a proper sellout. He's no different to all the rest. It's all weak. They're so scared of losing their seats. You're going to lose your seats anyway. Kathleen says he doesn't care about our country or culture. I'm assuming you're talking about Rishi or maybe Sadiq. I don't know. Straight Talking Guy says MPs are just playing games with the public. There is no chance of this working. But while they play games, more and more dinghy divers land on our shores. Yep. Kirsten says, really terrible news. No way it reflects the opinion of the UK citizens. Absolutely spot on. It doesn't. It's interesting because these people who are scared of losing their seats, because they might, if they support harsher border control policies, do they realize, even if they do basic opinion polls or focus groups that, they love, we don't like it, even if they do that, they will know that their constituents would support them, the same MPs, if they stand up for British borders. They are so scared of going against the rest of the consensus and establishment just because of their short-term job with £70,000, was it £74,000 salary? Really? So sad and depressing. Well, in the meantime, the United States have decided to designate the Houthis as a terrorist group. Oh dear. Everything is a mess. The British Parliament is a mess. The federal government in America and the White House is a mess. We have a reaction from Richard Tice as well, the leader of the Tory Light Reform UK party. Let's find out what Richard is saying. Richard said, predictably, the Tory rebels have huffed and puffed, then bottled it. Like naughty school children, they whimpered into silence when the head teacher Sunak threatened detention. Yep, he's right. Gutless, spineless. They have wasted everyone's time over this pointless charade. Yeah, couldn't disagree with that statement from Richard Tice. Asif says 74k salary, yeah, but there's expenses, double, obviously, there's a lot of gravy train as well. But my point is, they're going to lose their seats anyway. Why are they scared of losing the seats? Johnny says the Tories are finished. David says Suella and the rest should go to reform and kick Labour and the Tories out for good. But the reform will never be able to get the support. We know that. That's not reform as a Reform UK. It's good to support them if you want to basically punish the Tories, but it's not a party built for government. It's basically a Tory light party, which is fine. They want to basically they want to replace the Tory party at some point, but it's not really going to be winning the next election. That's the point. There's so many issues with it. That's why you can't just support a party because they said things that you like. That's not good enough. You need organization. You need local branches. You need funders. You need donors. You need actual the backbone of the actual organization, and it's not ready yet. That's the point. But obviously, the way a party will get ready is they have to keep getting support, grow the support. So fair enough. Those who want to support it for that reason, that makes sense. Bill Bailey, why this sudden surprise at spineless cowardice that their politicians paid to talk, not think? Yeah, I don't think anybody's surprised, Bill, and unless some people might be surprised in the conversation. It's just it's not surprising. It's still shocking. That's the point. It's a reminder that what we already kind of knew from these lots, and it's kind of interesting that the reason we're kind of shocked is mostly because they know that we know at this point, and we know that they know that we know. But they still repeat the same thing. They still treat us like idiots. It's because the rest of the electorate are going to be doing the same thing at the next election. Unless some miracle happens, the rest of the electorate are going to be voting primarily Tory and Labour in the next election because they don't see an alternative. Yeah, you might see reform. You might see, I do my homework. I understand what's going on in current affairs. I know there's a third party Reform UK. I'm going to vote for that. Fine. The rest of the electorate don't know Reform UK exists. They don't, even if they know, they're not ready to take that risk. They're still going to vote Labour. They're still going to vote Tory. So the reason the politicians continue doing the same thing is because the electorate given them the permission. If you want to do a British Revolution, get the electorate to change their vote. Give them an alternative, sort it out. But the more people vote the same way, don't be surprised that the establishment remains the same. Skylander says, Rishi Sunak is not working for you. Yep. There's always a vested interest. Paul says, 2016 was the last elected PM. Well, we don't elect prime ministers in this country. Let's clarify that. But if we're going to say elected, that was 2019. Boris Johnson was, he did receive a majority in 2019. But obviously, not direct vote. We don't have a presidential system. But in terms of mandate, the Tory party under Boris's leadership, 2019 was the last time we had an elected prime minister, if you want to call it that. Obviously, 2016 was Theresa May without getting a membership vote. By default, she became party leader. Anyway, let's go back. Let's see if we have any other reaction coming in from either the MPs or anyone else. If you joined us late, I'm going to go through the list of the 11 Tory rebels who actually voted against the bill. Only 11 Tory MPs rebelled and voted against the bill, which is obviously not surprising, but sad. Very easy. No reaction yet. So let's just do a quick recap. This is the list of every single Tory MP who actually had the balls to stand up to Rishi Sunak. Suella Braverman, Bill Cash, Miriam Cates, Simon Clarke, Sarah Dines, James Doddridge, Mark Francois, Andrea Jenkins, Robert Jenrick, David Jones, and Danny Kruger. No relations to Freddie. That's all we have. This is the list. Pick if you still want to remain a Tory, if you've already joined the Reform UK, then that's fine. If you're still in the Tory party looking for your next Tory leader, that's the only options you have. These are the only options you have out of these 11. Because all the others, you turned and surrendered. You can't have Jacob Rees-Mogg, who literally, until earlier today, was part of the rebels. I'm a man of the people. I'm principle. And then last minute, when the whips went to him and said, we're going to remove the whip, you're no longer going to be a Tory MP, say, oh, fine, I'll support the PM. If he comes to you next year and say, I would like to lead the Conservative movement in the Tory party, would you support me? Say no. Why would you? He might change his mind again. So, yeah, it's a big joke. But big credit and praise to this man. Well, both of them, Mark Francois and David Jones. Both remain principled. Both voted against the bill. Dave in the live chat says, if you vote Tory now, you are a retard. Straight talking Dave. There's still a lot of people who are so scared of the kind of consensus that we had, the political culture in the country. There will be a lot of people, actually there will be a few people in the live chat right now watching this, seeing what Dave said, and they will sit at home and be like, but does that mean if we don't support the Tories that we have to support Keir Starmer, or Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister by nature? Well, Keir Starmer is going to be Prime Minister anyway, at the way things are. If there was any point, any moment for you to send a message to the Tory establishment saying we don't want this version of the Tory party, it's now. Because there's no fear of, unlike 2019, in 2019 people said, don't take the risk, don't vote Brexit party, Boris is promising us the world, don't split the vote, you're going to get Jeremy Corbyn in, it's close election, vote Boris, not Brexit. Fine. You can't say it now, because it's not really a close election. The whole point is that as it stands, Starmer is going to become Prime Minister. If not majority Labour, minority Labour, hung Parliament. So don't worry about splitting vote. If you're just scared that you can't see yourself not voting Tory, and you might think that the result will be Labour government will come anyway. These people in government right now, they can't even save their own jobs. Hilarious, isn't it? Brian Little says, this is the final nail in the Tories' coffin. In fact, I don't think they even will have a coffin, because there are a bunch of zombies even right now in Parliament walking around like, Rrr. They have no idea what they're doing. None of them. At least the DUP remain principled. That's good. The DUP didn't change their mind. Simon Clarke, who is one of the guys who voted against the bill, remained principal. Let's go to his reaction as well. Simon Clarke, Tory MP, said, "Nobody can believe this issue will go away if we simply stop talking about it. This is about whether we can police our borders, whether we are a self-governing nation, and indeed whether the promises we make to the public are worth something." Absolutely agree with Simon Clarke. And again, as a reminder, Simon Clarke is one of the few people who actually did vote against Rishi Sunak. This is just a reminder. That's the list of every single Tory MP who actually did vote against it. Priti Patel is not on the list. Boris Johnson is not on the list. Jacob Rees-Mogg is not on the list. Liz Truss is not on the list. Suella is. Bill Cash is. Mark Ranswer. Of course, Robert Jenrick. Bill Bailey says, "That's twice you made my point." Oh, I'm glad I did that, thank you. I don't even know what I was doing. If you still vote Tory after tonight because you're afraid of a Starmageddon, then you are no better than the cowards in Parliament. That's actually the best way to describe it. The reason that the few so-called conservative Tory MPs decided to be cowards is because they are cowards. They will go home tonight, or they'll go to a pub in Westminster, feel bad, like, oh, I feel so guilty and dirty that I was forced to support the government. Who was stopping you? Were the party whips threatening to remove the whip? Let's see tomorrow what will happen to these 11 Tory MPs. Let's see if Rishi Sunak has the balls and the whips to remove the whip from every single one of them and make them independent MPs. Do you think Rishi Sunak is going to do that? It might. And even if it does that, does it matter? The elections are coming up anyway. It might actually be in the interest of these MPs. If they're going to be losing their seat as a Tory MP, as a Tory candidate, they might be able to keep their seat as an independent MP. So, firstly, if half the Tory party was actually voting against the bill tonight, if they were brave enough to do it, you were never going to have Rishi Sunak and the chief whips removing all the whips. That would be half the Tory MP becoming independent MPs. Show people power. Remain united. You already provide an alternative. Keir Starmer and the clowns and the Labour benchers, they didn't provide an alternative. They were just opposing the bill for the sake of it, because it was a Tory bill. But the Tory rebels, they actually did provide an alternative. They had a solution. That's what they're telling us, right? So why would you get rid of your own solution and go back to Rishi Sunak because they threatened you? Go with your own solution. Rebel. Lose the whip, even if you have to. Remain an independent MP. Fight for your constituency. And then provide your solution as the alternative bill. Not going to happen. We're dealing with clowns. Let me just double check to see. Rishi Sunak is expected to address the country early on Thursday. They know that because they know I'm going to be in bed Thursday morning. Just get it over with, Rishi. And he's going to issue a direct call to the House of Lords not to meddle with his bill that has been backed by elected MPs. Well, that's the next big challenge now for Rishi Sunak. He's going to have to deal with the House of Lords. So it will be kind of funny if the House of Lords for once do the right thing and block the bill for the right reasons. But they can't block the bill, obviously. They can send it back to the House of Commons. Ping pong. Spineless traitors. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will come back tomorrow morning unless some weird things happen somewhere in the world. We will come back with some breaking news. Otherwise, I'm going to go to bed. Why not? Thanks for coming, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.